The Galactic Council chamber shimmered beneath a dome of crystal light, the hum of translation drones filling the vast hall like 1,000 whispers. The delegates from 100 worlds had gathered, yet only one voice drew their mockery: the human ambassador, standing tall and unarmed in the center of the circle. His uniform was unadorned, his posture calm, his tone almost measured as he spoke into the council's core projector. "This is not a threat," he said, voice even. "This is a plea for reason. Cease your attacks. You misunderstand us." The hall erupted with laughter. Representatives from empires that spanned entire arms of the galaxy leaned back in derision. The Virek Dominion's prime executor sneered through rows of needle-like teeth. "Misunderstand?" he hissed. "You humans hide behind words because you lack claws." The ambassador did not respond. His gaze swept the chamber, pausing briefly on those who smirked or whispered. When he finally spoke again, it was quiet enough that the amplification field had to adjust. "Restraint is not weakness. Courtesy is not fear. You are mistaking discipline for surrender." The translator drones hesitated for a fraction of a second, confused by the tone, not a plea, not a boast, but a statement of fact. The silence that followed lasted only moments before being drowned by laughter once more. The Dominion's envoy leaned forward. "Your colonies trespass on our claim worlds. Your trade fleets refuse inspection. Your peace is arrogance." Around him, murmurs of agreement spread. The council speaker, an ancient being of glass and gas, made a show of sighing. "Humanity's caution has been commendable," it said, its voice a soft echo. "But you cannot expect patience forever when you occupy space beyond your station." The ambassador's expression did not change. "We have occupied no one's space," he replied. "We colonized wastelands others abandoned. We offered trade, communication, cooperation. Yet every offer of peace was returned with blood." He placed both hands on the edge of the podium, his knuckles pale. "We have endured attacks, blockades, and sabotage in silence, not because we are incapable of responding, but because we believed civility still had value." The Dominion's delegate laughed, the sound sharp and metallic. "Then continue to believe. The galaxy has no room for frightened diplomats pretending to be soldiers." There it was, the line that sealed their arrogance. The ambassador drew in a breath, steady and deep, then released it as though letting go of centuries of tolerance. "You mistake humanity's mercy for weakness," he said. "You mistake our kindness for compliance. But remember this, everything you've seen from us until now was restraint." He looked toward the Council's recorder sphere, knowing every word would echo through every network across known space. "Do not push us to show you what comes after restraint." He stepped back from the dais. The lights shifted as the Council's speaker raised a limb to formally close the session. "Your warning is noted," it said, its tone almost patronizing. "May your species find peace, somewhere far from ours." The session dissolved in murmurs, laughter, and derision. Some envoys mocked the human exit, others dismissed him with amusement, convinced the Terrans were bluffing once again. Humanity had always been diplomatic to a fault, endlessly patient, forever seeking coexistence in a galaxy that valued domination over dialogue. But back on Earth, the message replayed in silence. Every major news network carried the footage, not the laughter, not the sneers, just the ambassador's calm words. On every continent, citizens watched without emotion. They had seen enough wars to understand what came next. The United Earth Council issued no statements, no follow-up transmissions, no clarifications. Within hours, all human embassies were ordered home. Terran vessels left foreign ports without explanation. Communications with the Galactic Council ceased entirely. At first, the galaxy celebrated. Analysts and journalists across the stars declared humanity's retreat proof of surrender. "The Terrans have learned their limits," one headline read. Another mocked. "Earth returns to its cradle." The Virek Dominion's propaganda networks broadcast victory songs, claiming the humans had been taught respect. But among those who studied humanity closely, those who had seen the cold precision of Terran fleets during past skirmishes, unease began to grow. There was something unnatural in that silence. No protests, no retaliation, no diplomatic counteroffensive. Just the quiet withdrawal of an entire species known for its persistence. The council chambers moved on to other debates, convinced the problem was resolved. Yet the echoes of the human ambassador's final words lingered in the air, caught in the memory of the recording drones. You mistake our kindness for compliance. And far from the glittering heart of the galaxy, somewhere beyond the old trade routes, the hum of engines began to change pitch. Quietly, methodically, fleets repositioned. Protocols long sealed under extinction contingency unlocked themselves across human defense networks. The galaxy thought humanity had stepped back. In truth, Earth was simply exhaling before it spoke again, and when it did, it would no longer speak softly. The first strike came without warning. 3 human colonies, Helios Prime, Vega Reach, and the frontier world of Canaan, were hit simultaneously by Virek Dominion fleets. The attacks weren't tactical, they were executions. Civilian transports were vaporized mid-flight. Orbital habitats were split open, scattering thousands into vacuum. The Dominion broadcast their assault live, confident that Earth would watch and finally bow. They wanted submission displayed for the galaxy to see. But humanity did not answer. Across galactic channels, alien commentators mocked the silence. The Terrans finally understand their place. One broadcast gloated. Dominion generals paraded through victory halls, boasting that the soft-spoken species had been broken. Even the Council refused to condemn the attack, choosing instead to call it a regrettable escalation. To them, Earth's stillness meant surrender. They mistook mourning for defeat. On Mars, transmission centers burned through encrypted chatter, but no orders came from Earth. The colony's distress signals were received, archived, and met with the same reply, acknowledged. No mobilization, no retaliation, only silence. Those who knew the human command structure recognized something chilling in that quiet. When Earth stopped broadcasting outrage, it meant the decision had already been made. The death toll climbed into the millions. The Virek Emperor declared the Terran frontier pacified, and ordered the construction of memorial shrines to commemorate their victory. The rest of the galaxy looked away, unwilling to interfere. Empires whispered that the humans had overreached and were now paying the price for arrogance. Yet out beyond Neptune's shadow, vast communication arrays began to realign toward deep space. Earth's global defense network initiated full lockdown, severing external feeds and routing every system through buried channels that had remained in use for centuries. For the first time since joining the galactic community, every Terran satellite went dark simultaneously. The Dominion misread it as systemic collapse. Their infrastructure is failing, their analysts reported confidently. Their command networks have fractured. What none of them realized was that the blackout was deliberate, a full transition from peace-state governance to war protocol. Humanity had begun to shift into the one mode it had avoided for generations: unified retaliation. Inside the orbital rings, automated systems reactivated defense satellites long placed in dormancy. Old war machines, hidden in asteroid vaults and forgotten depots, came back online. Thousands of drones reconnected to central command nodes. The process was cold and mathematical, no speeches, no broadcasts. Humanity did not rally, it prepared. On Earth's moon, a single coded transmission left the command base, one sentence, sent across the galactic network in every known language. "Stop attacking or we stop pretending to be courteous." It spread like wildfire, replayed on every station, analyzed by every intelligence service. Most saw it as an empty gesture, another display of human pride before extinction. "They're bluffing again," one council member remarked. "As they did before Helios burned." The Dominion's propaganda channels ridiculed the phrase, turning it into a slogan for entertainment feeds. Soldiers painted it on the sides of captured human transports as a trophy mark. But a few quiet analysts, strategists from neutral worlds, recognized the undertone in that message. It wasn't a threat issued in desperation. It was a formal declaration that restraint had ended. The humans had always couched their warnings in moral language before. This one carried no emotion, no appeal to reason, just an unambiguous statement of change. The Dominion Emperor ordered a second wave of attacks to prove the point. His fleets jumped toward another line of human settlements. As the ships approached, their communications began to fail. Navigation readings turned erratic. Some vessels reported phantom contacts within their own formations. Then their transmissions stopped entirely. No wreckage was recovered, no survivors found. The Council received no explanation, but dismissed the event as technical error. Back on Earth, nothing was said publicly. News channels displayed no mourning banners, no retaliation speeches. Only a simple emblem appeared on every official network, the old Terran insignia, surrounded by a single phrase, Operation Courtesy terminated. That was all it took for those who understood human history to go still. They remembered what followed every time Earth stopped warning. The rest of the galaxy kept laughing, still blind to what the silence meant. They hadn't yet realized that humans never shout before war. They simply close the door, lock the signal lines, and begin the work no one is meant to see. The Dominion's fleets didn't know it yet, but the countdown had already begun. The last echo of their mockery faded into the void, and the galaxy waited for a response that would not come in words. 48 hours after the last Dominion broadcast, their frontier communications went silent. Entire fleets vanished mid-transit, their signals blinking out as if erased from existence. The Council blamed interference. Dominion officials assured the galaxy that human retaliation was impossible. But in the shadows between systems, something vast and unseen began to move. Humanity had stopped talking, and the void started answering for them. Virec listening stations on the rim detected faint bursts of radiation before their sensors melted. Patrol vessels investigating the anomalies never returned. Within days, 19 Dominion worlds went dark. Trade convoys disappeared into routes that had been safe for centuries. The first recovered footage came from a drifting black box. The recording showed a flash so bright that it turned space itself white for half a second, then nothing. Analysts called it an energy surge. Survivors whispered it was punishment. No one understood the scale of what had been unleashed. The humans hadn't mobilized conventional armadas. They had activated something older, colder, and infinitely more efficient. Their defense network, designed in secret long before the Council ever knew humanity existed, wasn't built for deterrence. It was built for annihilation through precision. Each strike came without broadcast or declaration, purely algorithmic, targeting command centers, shipyards, and supply nodes simultaneously. The Dominion's admirals ordered counteroffensives, but every fleet command ship they launched disintegrated the moment it broke orbit. Some vanished into spatial distortion fields, others imploded as if their atoms refused to obey physics. Within 72 hours, their entire command lattice collapsed. Panic spread faster than information. Systems that had once mocked Earth now cut off all transmissions to avoid being detected. Civilian traffic fled toward Council-protected zones, begging for sanctuary from an enemy no one could see. Across the galaxy, military observers tried to make sense of it. They found no trace of standard human war signatures, no hyperspace trails, no communication spikes, no recognizable fleet formations. It was as if the attacks came from nowhere. Those who examined the wreckage discovered materials and weapon traces that shouldn't exist under known technology. Some ships bore microscopic burns consistent with projectiles traveling at near-relativistic speeds. Others were sliced apart by something resembling concentrated magnetic shear. It wasn't war as anyone understood it. It was a controlled demolition of an empire. Every attempt to open communication with Earth went unanswered. The Council's emergency channels flooded with requests to intervene, to negotiate, to stop the humans before the Dominion collapsed entirely. No one dared send a fleet to enforce it. Their own intelligence reports showed human probes orbiting systems light years away from any known colony. They had eyes everywhere, and every attempt to trace them led only to empty coordinates. Captured Dominion officers spoke of ghost ships, black holes with no heat signatures, moving faster than scanners could lock on. One described seeing human marines boarding their station without ever breaching the walls, appearing inside as if the vacuum itself had opened. Another claimed the Terrans didn't speak during combat, they transmitted coordinates and silence. Whatever they had become, they no longer fought like a species defending itself. They fought like an entity delivering a verdict. Within the council, panic shifted to desperation. Diplomats drafted apologies, pleas, and ceasefire proposals. Each message was transmitted across secure bands toward Seoul. None returned. The council sent a final envoy to the Terran border, escorted by 20 ships. Only the envoy's pod made it back, its hull scorched, its systems fried. Inside was a single line of text etched into its display. "You asked for war? You received correction." The words spread faster than light, echoed in every report, repeated in every chamber. No one laughed this time. Entire civilizations withdrew their fleets from shared borders with human space. Trade routes that once cut through Terran sectors rerouted overnight. In the Dominion's heart, the last standing military outpost went silent after broadcasting a final desperate transmission. "We never understood what they were hiding." The galaxy finally realized what it meant when humanity had said they'd stop pretending. The humans hadn't unleashed fury, they had revealed capacity. Every empire that once dismissed them now watched in terrified awe as one truth settled like dust after an explosion: Earth had never been peaceful out of weakness. They had simply been merciful. And mercy, the galaxy discovered, was finite. The war ended without a treaty, without surrender, without negotiation. The Dominion's throne world burned for less than an hour before it was gone. Its capital continent ceased to exist, erased so precisely that no debris remained to orbit its star. The Council's observers, watching from distant systems, transmitted what they could before their sensors failed: an expanding sphere of silent light and then empty space. By the time reports reached the core worlds, the Dominion no longer existed as a functioning government. Entire sectors went dark, their populations cut off, their leaders vanished. Humanity had stopped advancing long before it ran out of targets. They didn't conquer, they concluded. The Council convened an emergency assembly for the first time in centuries. Representatives spoke in hushed tones, careful not to let their fears sound like blame. They discussed sanctions, peace proposals, investigations, anything that would make it seem like they still had authority. None dared speak the truth aloud, that the humans no longer required permission from anyone. Every empire capable of interstellar war began dismantling their forward bases near Terran space. Fleets that once ringed the solar border vanished from sensors. Trade ships changed course, replotting routes to avoid any human signature. Silence became the galaxy's new diplomacy. From Earth, no statement came. No public announcement, no claim of victory, not even acknowledgement that the war had happened. Reconstruction began quietly on the burned colonies, carried out by autonomous systems that asked for nothing and reported to no one. Human media played no images of destruction, no broadcasts of triumph. Their networks returned to normal programming as if nothing had occurred. To them, it wasn't war, it was correction, an act necessary to restore balance. The few Dominion survivors who reached neutral territory told fragmented stories that spread like myths. They spoke of ships without heat, weapons that didn't fire but folded reality, soldiers who killed with a glance and vanished into static. Some described hearing whispers through their calm seconds before annihilation. "Stop attacking!" Scholars dismissed it as psychological trauma, yet none could explain how entire systems disappeared without detectable cause. When investigators attempted to approach Terran-controlled space to gather evidence, their ships received a single automated transmission. "Approach denied. Containment protocols active." None pressed further. Months passed, and the galaxy adjusted to the new order. The Council restructured its defense policies, establishing human exclusion zones that no one dared to cross. Trade resumed through safer corridors, avoiding Seoul by hundreds of light years. Every government officially recognized Earth's sovereignty without ever being asked. The Council's records labeled the Dominion conflict as a containment event, never publicly admitting that it was extinction. Diplomats called it an unfortunate misunderstanding. Historians called it mercy in its final form. When the Council finally received a transmission from Earth, it wasn't live. It was a recorded message, dated months after the conflict, delivered through a secure diplomatic relay. The voice was calm, synthetic, and utterly devoid of malice. Humanity desires peace. We will not impose it. We will not demand it. But we will not tolerate its violation. Our courtesy has limits. Respect them, and you will find no more trouble from us. The message ended with coordinates that led to empty space, no signatures, no relay nodes. It was the last communication the Council ever received from humanity. In the years that followed, legends replaced reports. Traders swore they saw silent Terran ships escorting convoys through pirate zones, then disappearing before anyone could hail them. Entire colonies claimed anonymous aid after disasters, rebuilding drones bearing no insignia but the faint blue glow of Terran code. Yet not a single human ambassador returned to the Council. The species that once begged for coexistence now governed through absence, their presence felt only in restraint. Within the Council archives, one scholar left a final note after reviewing the classified recordings from the human war. They never sought domination, he wrote. They sought to stop being underestimated. We mocked their courtesy until they proved it was armor. We called them primitive until they reminded us they were Deathworlders pretending to be diplomats. Centuries later, the phrase still lingered across the stars, half warning, half prayer. Stop attacking, or they will stop pretending. And every civilization that heard it knew peace not because they believed in it, but because they feared the silence that would come if humanity ever decided to speak again.